Hey, it's Scott. Hopefully you're well. This is walk number 8, and we're jumping forward to more Matthew. It's interesting how Matthew leads the pack in this chronological Bible. Make sure you're helping me check in to see if we're missing anything, to see if the chronological order is out or we missed something from Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. We're Mark later. Most of this next stuff is Matthew. We're going to hit Luke a little bit. And hopefully you guys can share with me why you think that is. Why is this Matthew and Matthew only with some tidbits of Luke? What does that mean? What should we make that mean? Let's see when we hear from John again. We won't hear from John again until, man, I'm like 10, 12 pages deep already. Mark. We'll hear from Mark next about the parable of the growing seed. And we don't hear from John for 20 to 30 pages. So if one of y'all can take on balancing this with where are we at with John, look up John and see where we went. I was surprised how far we were in John, and maybe that's just it. Maybe there's a gap that you all can share with me about why are we just in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but John is coming up later. And I went through 20 or 30 pages and didn't see anything from John. So keep me up to date on that if you would, and help me out with that. Jesus teaches about law. Don't be misunderstood. Matthew 5:17 through 20. Why have I come? I did not come to abolish the law or of Moses or writings of the prophets. No, I came to accomplish their purpose. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. Let's read that again. I tell you the truth, until the heaven and earth disappear, not even the small detail of God's law will appear. Wait. I'm saying something. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. So if you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But anyone who obeys God's laws and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Boy, talk about throw them under the wagon and back over them. The Pharisees just got thrown under the wagon. But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and of the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Ouch, Pharisees. Don't want to be one of those right now. So how do we avoid that? I really like Matthew 5:18. It says, I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. Boy, there's some meat and some potatoes in that. I'm not sure that I can unpack that. Let's see what it says in the text below, 17 through 20. Law, does that mean? Okay. In the Old Testament, the law can be understood to have 3 dimensions: ceremonial, civil, and moral. The ceremonial law related to specifically Israel's worship. Its primary purpose was to point forward to Jesus. These laws are no longer bound by ceremonial law. The principles behind them to worship and love a holy God still apply. Jesus was often accused of Pharisees of violating ceremony law. Jesus was often accused by the Pharisees. Okay, so, this is where we can go to, and where I oftentimes will go to is, sorry, my computer is freezing. I may have to cut this video short. 32, 33, 34. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen to make sure it's still recording. I apologize if you see this video and it's choppy, please let me know. I may need to reboot my computer in between 8 and 9, okay? This is number 9. I'm sorry, between 9 and 10. We just did 8. So where I go to is how much ceremonial law does Catholics do Catholics still do? Do other religions still do? Specifically for us, we talked about Catholicism this week in our small group and how confession was ran. I don't know if it still is. Maybe you Catholics can share with me, you former Catholics can share with me what you knew about the Catholicism and how it's grown. Virgil's Beer of Root, good stuff. I would love to hear more about what you know. My aunt says that things have changed slightly. Whether that's true or not, I can only assume and trust her that it is. The civil law applied to daily living in Israel because modern society and culture are so radically different from that time, and setting all these guidelines could not be followed specifically. But the principles behind the commands are timeless. So it's the principles behind the commands that stay timeless and should guide our conduct. Jesus demonstrated these principles by example. The moral law, it says, as the Ten Commandments, is direct command of God, and it requires strict obedience. The moral law reveals the nature and will of God and still applies today. Jesus obeyed the moral law completely. So 10 Commandments, is it what we do? Do we honor our father and mother? Do we love God first? Do we not commit adultery? Do we not steal? Do we not kill? You can just think about that. If you don't have those morals, if you're in prison and you're thinking about those morals or values, if there's a moral issue in your life, it probably falls underneath the 10 Commandments. Pretty easy stuff, huh? So that's a good check and balance too, especially when you think about, any of those. Whether you could look at the morality and split those hairs for yourself. Where are we being moral? Where are we not being moral? Whether it's your taxes, whether it's your neighbor, loving your neighbor as yourself is one of the golden rules. We'll get to those later. What else? Lying, cheating. Are we lying to ourselves? Is that one? So good stuff. Jesus teaches about law, and the next one's going to be a good one. Get ready for number 10. I'll post that up as well. So 10, hopefully 10, 11, and 12 will be done, and you guys can follow along. Make sure you share this with somebody, like it, and we'll talk soon. Peace.